Knives, knives, knives. Everyone wants to know about the chef's knives. And I get it, I get it. I guess it makes sense as a home cook. You want to know if you're doing it right, doing it wrong. Caveat, I'm not a knife geek. I'm not someone who geeks out over knives. I don't spend hours sharpening my knives, which I think is probably a good, Caitlin's here for moral support.
Hi.
It's very close, so that when I hold knives up,
Okay.
they can see them.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Is this one on?
That's on too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Caitlin's here for moral support because I can't film these videos without Caitlin.
Can't do anything without me. And I'm here to ask all your questions.
The questions. So a couple of, these are all my knives. A couple of things I want to say first. I'll let you know, I'm very honest and open about when I've been given stuff, when I haven't been given stuff, etc. So whether it's a gift, whether it was given to us by the brand, I'll let you know. Someone accused me of lying the other day about that video I did on the probe, and it made me very angry. I don't get very angry very often, but I did a short about a probe that I reviewed. I paid for it myself, and someone in comments accused me of saying, "Oh, you got given that." I didn't get given it, I got paid.
You were very honest.
I was very honest
review.
about it.
And
I kind of said at the end of the review, don't buy this. But
yeah, it wasn't a negative review, but it wasn't necessarily like a positive, glowing review.
Don't quit. I try and be as honest and as integrity as I can in this role, because it's important, I think, when you have an audience.
You need to be upfront.
You need to be upfront about this stuff. Anyway, we digress. Knives. So I'm going to start from one end, go to the other, talk about them, talk about kind of some of the knife reasons things the way they are to my best of ability. I have used these for 20 years, but my overall ethos with knives is that they are tools. They're an extension of my hand, so they need to be sharp, they need to be comfortable, and you kind of need the right knife for the job when you're doing certain things. There's a lot of good all-rounders, but we'll start here. This is a rough knife. This knife is a hectic knife, and I got this on the streets of Ubud in Bali. Oh, really? How many years ago? When was Carvoso's wedding?
Oh, gosh, that would have been, I don't know, 6 years ago?
6, 7 years ago. It was like 10 bucks. It's got a very thick blade. I basically use it for chopping through bones. Okay, so this is my cleaver effectively. So cleavers can be a few different things. In Chinese cooking especially, the chef uses the cleaver a lot. They'll use it for veggies and everything. Usually has a flat blade, has a lot of weight behind it. This is a single beveled edge one. We'll talk about single and double bevels later on a bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's a very cheap cleaver. It's good for cutting through bones. That's pretty much it. I don't often, it's got a bit of an edge on it. I don't sharpen this very often. This is raw or carbon steel, why it's kind of rusted and patinaed. We'll talk about that a bit later on too. This knife is a Victorian Ox rosewood handle 28 centimeter cook's blade. This is the best bang for buck all-round knife you should buy. Every chef or every kitchen, every cook should own a blade like this. It's a very famous knife. You can also get these with just these plastic handles. They're even cheaper. I like these rosewood handles, and this was the first knife I ever owned.
Is it?
Yep. I got this
What age?
I would have been straight into chef school. You got given like a roll of knives in chef school, and that was one of these knives.
That's pretty cool.
And I've still got it.
It's pretty old then.
And it's, it's pretty battered and bruised.
Because Victorian Ox is from New Zealand, isn't it?
No, Victorian Ox is Swiss. It's where Swiss Army knives come from. Okay. It's a very big company, yeah.
Right.
But very good knives. Not very good entry level knives, all right? They're affordable. Yeah. The metal's kind of a bit soft. It's not hard, not really hard. It's stainless steel, so it won't rust. So the benefit of a softer metal is you can keep it, is it's easy to get sharp. Okay. Negative, and it's kind of forgiving. If you drop this, it's not going to snap. Okay. The negative is it kind of doesn't keep an edge for ages. But but
you've had that for a long time.
But talking about edges, about sharpening.
Oh, as in
you got to keep sharpening it.
Sharpen it.
Yep.
Okay.
But a great all-round knife. Perfect all-round knife. You can cut veggies with it. You can cut meat with it. You can do some basic butchery with it. It's a nice handle. If you wanted something a bit smaller, there's a slightly smaller version of the same knife. So if you're someone that's maybe not quite, maybe a bit smaller or a bit, you don't have huge hands, that might be a better option. But yeah, this is a fantastic knife. Next one. This is a knife by a gentleman whose name I've forgotten, I'm sorry. It's from New Zealand. His company is called Victorian Knives. This is a beautiful knife. It's a handmade carbon steel knife. I'm not sure if you can see that. It's a really beautiful patterns that's made in the steel there. I think it's called Damascus, the technique that they use it. It's about how they kind of fold the metal and heat it up and cool it down. Not a knife smith. I can't tell you the ins and outs. I'm sure there's plenty of YouTube videos talking about how to make Damascus knives.
What's this?
I'm not sure what wood that is, but it's beautiful. Very
it's
nice
amazing.
wood, smooth, really comfortable knife to hold in the hand. And this knife was sent to me by the guy who owns this company. He's a young guy, I think he's like 19.
Wow, that's very cool.
And he sent it to me a long time ago, like not a long time ago, but like 2 years ago maybe. So
yeah,
I hope you're doing well. I hope you see this video, and I hope, you know, if anyone wants to buy some good handmade knives, Brookdale, New Zealand makes great knives. There's another Kiwi knife maker as well, makes beautiful knives. We'll talk about it a bit later on. Again, that's a very similar knife to that last knife. Probably slightly different. We'll talk about edges quickly. So this is a Scotsberg, this is a Dutch brand. This is a very classic German shaped blade. So you see the blade is quite curved all the way around. Doesn't have a particularly flat edge. And what that's good for is cutting like this, so rocking. So when you see chefs doing this, you'll see them kind of rocking. And that's how I often use I often cut.
So for like herbs and stuff?
Anything really,
right.
Yeah, herbs or mirepoix, but it's more a rocking motion when you're cutting. And then if you have a more French style blade, this is probably a better example. But actually something like this is a perfect example. This is kind of a Japanese style shape, but it's got a flat blade or a flat edge. That's for cutting like this. Because you can't rock that.
So French blade is a straight?
In European, yep. More straight. They usually have a bit more of a rock. It's probably a better example of that.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, there's also Japanese knives that have a straight edge as well.
Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, so that one's quite straight and then that one's curved.
Quite curved, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've done that.
Yep.
So this is a Victorian Ox, very similar to this knife. Probably has a slightly more curved blade, but has a nicer rosewood handle. Yeah, I think it's just a newer version of the same knife actually. Oh no, it's it's a bit of a thicker blade as well. If you can see that, but that blade is quite a lot thicker, which gives it more weight, which can be good if if you're trying to get through things. It's kind of good to get some weight into it. Bad if you are using a knife all day and you don't want to have a heavy knife in your hand all day. This knife was given to me by Victorian Ox. I didn't pay for it, but it's a nice knife. I've used it quite a lot. Good shape. I think and now I'm thinking about it, I think you can still get these original rosewood handled knives. Do you want to find out how much they are, babe?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure you can get these. Katen's got to look now at the pricing so we can tell you. While she's doing that, this knife here, this is another carbon steel knife. It's got a bunch of little divots in it. See, there's holes here. So those are usually there to help stop from sticking to the blade. So if you're cutting like cheese and stuff, it doesn't create a vacuum in it and it can kind of pop away. This is made by a guy called Knives by Scotty. I paid for this knife. I bought this knife a long time ago, but he was the Late Night Lenny.
Yeah.
Late Night Lenny is a chef I used to work with for a long time. I think he lives down in Byron now. It was his brother-in-law, I'm pretty sure. His Lenny's sister's husband. Knives by Scotty.
Oh, cool.
I'm pretty sure he's up in Bundaberg. Anyway, if you Google Knives by Scotty, you'll see him. That's a good knife. Use that quite a lot.
They use lots of maple wood now.
Maple wood.
Victorian Ox does.
How much is it? Yeah, what's that top one?
Oh yeah. The top one's 140.
Really?
For the 20. Mate, that's maple wood. Oh, this is rosewood. 110.
Yeah. That's
a slicing.
Yeah. What's that? $88.
That's a serrated carving.
That's not serrated.
Yeah, serrated carving. It is very softly.
Okay. What's that? Oh, there you go.
Maple wood,
16.
cook's knife.
That's
$70.
$70. I think that might be that. It might be. That's 16 centimeters? No, that's more than 16 centimeters. Anyway, I think like something like this is like under $100. Something like this is probably a bit more, 120, I'm guessing. Aussie dollars, that is. I don't know what that is in USD. Not cheap, but not outrageously expensive. When you start getting into these like handmade stuff, you know, that's when you start, because you know, they're made by hand. Here we go. What's 25, 160 bucks.
160.
Yeah, okay.
That's the rosewood.
Rosewood, okay, 160 bucks.
So rosewood, yeah.
So then can you look for these ones, the plastic handles?
Yeah.
That'll be a lot cheaper. But I think if you've been using knives all day, I think the rosewood's nice. It's like, I prefer to hold wood than I would a plastic handle. But the guys in the boning rooms at Kilcoy, they use these, and they are literally holding knives all day. But anyway, I've talked about Good Knives by Scotty. I've talked about Brookdale, I'm pretty sure. Talked about that. This is a knife that my best mate Sammy Sweetheart brought me. Thank you, Sammy. I'm sure you're watching this video. This is a knife by a gentleman by the name of Hayden in New Zealand, and his company is called Champion Knives. He makes beautiful knives. So yes, I was given it, but I was given it as a gift, so I can talk honestly about it. But yeah, really nice knives, really nice knife maker. Hayden was a chef for a long time, so he understands what chefs want out of knives. He was a chef. I think he was Al Brown's right hand for a long time. Al Brown's a pretty famous Kiwi chef, fantastic Kiwi chef actually, really good chef. Has some really good cookbooks. Yeah, but Hayden makes beautiful knives. So the Victorian Ox 25 centimeter carving knife in black with the black handle is 90 Australian dollars. So you want to save a bit of money, get one of these. If you want to spend a bit of money, get one of those. Caitlin just about cut me.
Do you know how to hold a knife?
Nice safety. Yeah, so Hayden makes beautiful knives. This is a really interesting shaped blade. Kind of I'm not sure what the Japanese name would be for this blade. It's kind of like a vegetable chopper, I think. I could be wrong. Hayden or Sam will know. Sam's a bit of a knife geek. If you know, let us know in the comments what that actual blade is called. This is a Scotsburg, a Dutch company that we are working with. So they make a lot of stuff, kitchenware, they make pots and really great cast iron pots and pans. But yeah, considered this a sponsored plug because we do. They don't sponsor this video, but we do.
They don't sponsor this channel. We don't have sponsors on this channel.
Yeah. But that's another really classic kind of knife shape, a bit shorter, a bit wider. Again, I'm terrible with names, so I can't remember the name of this blade, but it's a kind of a good all-rounder, but I think if you had to choose one all-rounder, it'd be that over that. This is a Japanese knife. I have no idea where I got it from.
I think you got it just from like a random kitchen shop.
There you go.
And it was pretty cheap.
I think it was pretty cheap.
You got a small one as well.
But it's soft. It's got a really soft blade, so it gets a really good edge on it really easily. It's a double beveled Japanese knife. I think people often mistaken that all Japanese knives are single beveled. That's not true. Most of them are double beveled. Some are single beveled. We'll talk about that when we get to that in a second. Cheap Japanese knife, soft steel, easy to keep sharp. I don't know what kind of wood that is. A light, soft wood. It's a light knife.
It's very light.
It's the one that Caitlin actually grabs when she's cutting something. Dog food.
Dog food mainly.
This is another Victorian Ox knife. This is from where I work at Kilcoy, from the boning rooms. They sharpen their knives. I can't remember what they call this. They sharpen them really aggressively. You can see that. I don't know if you can see it. Probably easier there. You can see the level of that beveled edge is just super thick, right? And these things are razor sharp. So you can probably hear how sharp that is. That's super sharp. So the guys in the boning room work really fast and really quickly. It's like outrageous how fast they work. So they laugh at my knives, how unsharp they are.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And my knives aren't blunt, but these guys' knives are like razors.
Well, I guess they have to be.
Have to be.
So it didn't come like that. They sharpen it like that.
Yeah, it doesn't come like that from the factory, no. So interesting blade shape, kind of a butcher's, like I call this like a steak. I use this for like portioning steaks, basically. The shape works well for cutting. One I usually use is a bit bigger. I have that at Kilcoy. The cutting steaks, that's what I like using this for. And it's what you'll see most butcher shops using for cutting steaks. All right, filleting knives. So a filleting knife is exactly what it says on the packet. It's a filleting fish. Thin blade, flexible. So you can do that with it. So it's soft metal. Easy to get a nice edge on it, hard to keep an edge on it. That's the same series of knife as this guy from Victorian Ox. Great for filleting fish, skinning fish, and that's pretty much it, to be perfectly honest.
Okay.
Oh, a bit of boning, you can do it for like getting the silver skin from under your meat.
Yep.
Galen's I have no idea what that is.
No, I do. I've watched your ham videos, although your meat videos. Breaking down a sirloin.
Good knife, nothing wrong with that at all. Serrated bread knife.
Bread knife.
Is what it says on the tin. Very important though. I think you need a bread knife in your kitchen. You don't need an expensive bread knife. The annoying thing about bread knives is that you can't sharpen them. I think you can, but they're very hard to sharpen. I was going to drink.
So you want to look for a good quality one?
Yeah. I mean, yes and no.
It's sharp.
You can, I guess you could argue that if you're going to have to replace it anyway. I think the trick is with bread knives is only use it for bread. If you see people start, because people often, their knives are blunt.
Yeah.
So they end up turning to the serrated knives because their knives are blunt. They're like, I can't cut this pumpkin, they get the serrated knife and they can get through it. But if you just use it for bread, it'll last a lot longer. Okay. I don't know where I got this knife from. I think I literally inherited it from a kitchen that I worked in. This is a global sashimi knife. It's a kind of a bad example of a sashimi knife, to be honest. I'm not a huge fan of global knives. I don't know. A
global knife?
Global's the brand.
Okay.
Never been a huge fan. They had their moment in the 90s.
Right.
I think it's long gone now. They kind of, I don't know if they invented, but they certainly were the real main company that did these like single piece knives. So it's one piece of metal. But I still have it because every now and then I do need to cut sashimi, and that's what this knife for. This is a Japanese shaped knife for sashimi. It's a single beveled edge. It's really hard to show on camera. But you see here, there's a bevel on that edge, and that edge is flat. So that edge, so it goes like this. Flat, bevel. It's a very exaggerated example of that. Whereas most knives are like that, double bevel. This is like that. What's good about that? Well, it's good for slicing sashimi and slicing fish.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
Okay, fish knife.
What's bad about it? It's a single use, and they are actually right and left-handed. So if you're right-handed, the bevel is on the right side. If you're left-handed, the bevel is on the left side.
Right, okay.
Take it that what you will. Most domestic kitchens do not need a knife like this unless you are a big fish eater and like eating sashimi.
Tim, it's just more comfortable in your hand, isn't it?
Yes. This is another filleting knife. Nothing more, nothing less. Good if you like filleting. Same as that one, basically. Slightly smaller blade. This is a smaller version of the Scotsburg knife back here that they gave me here. No, not that one.
No?
That one.
That one.
Same blade shape, very small. Good for like little things. I keep these like little knives and the one next to it too. I keep them razor sharp and I use them for stuff like cutting chives. I don't know why I'm looking at that camera, you can't see me. Cutting chives, fine herbs, chiffonading lettuce, stuff like that.
Okay.
Same with this knife. This is an interesting knife. It's a Japanese shape and it's got like Japanese writing on it, but I'm pretty sure it's a German company.
You put down a bit.
Yeah, I'm trying to read it. It's
Miyabi.
Miyabi, but I think it's
5000F.
I think it's actually a Wusthof.
What's a Wusthof?
Yeah, it is too. A Wusthof is a company, it's a German company. And they obviously, saw the trend of Japanese knives. So when I was cooking in London, early 2000s, long time ago.
I didn't know you then.
Japanese knives started to become popular in the Western world. And I reckon Wusthof thought they'd get on the bandwagon and start kind of branding their knives. I brought this knife in London. It's a thin blade, double beveled. I keep it really sharp and I use it for herbs. I wouldn't recommend it.
Very thin handle.
Very thin, yeah. It's a soft blade, which makes it easy to sharpen. Unlike these are pretty like hard steel, which is great because it keeps a really good edge on it, but they're brittle. So if you drop this, there's a chance you'll crack the...
Oh, really?
Yeah, you'll like tack the end off it.
I don't think I've ever seen a cracked knife or a broken knife.
I've certainly broken some knives in my day.
Have you? Yeah. During service?
Yeah, I snapped a fish filleting knife once. That was pretty dramatic in an open kitchen and the blade went through the restaurant.
Oh, I bet
So I was doing fish like that.
your head chef would have loved you. Or were you the head chef?
No, I wasn't the head chef. I was a chef de partie, and I was filleting fish like that. And I was probably getting a bit aggressive. And the tip went ping, and I could hear it fly across the restaurant. And it went ding, 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 ding. And I just...
Do you walk away?
I just ignored it because it didn't hit anyone. I was like, I'm not going to go look for that because it's probably more obvious.
Does it snap clean, or like do you
Snaps
get
clean?
So you don't
Just
have
a
to worry about
clean-
shards in your fish?
Just snaps clean off.
Okay.
Anyway. Okay, boning knife. This is a Victorian Ox boning knife. You can see the shape of that blade. It has some flexibility, but not much. And this is what it says on the packet. It's a boning knife. It's for boning out meat. So, boning out chicken thighs, boning out ribeyes, boning out, half carcasses, all the rest of it. So you can use it like this. You'll see butchers often using like this. They're doing that when, this is very threatening, isn't it? They do that when the carcass
Towards
is hanging.
them, not me.
Then the carcass is hanging and they'll just kind of start working their way down, because when butchers and people in processing plants are breaking down big animals, they use gravity to help them. So the carcass is hanging, they'll take a piece off and the piece will just fall away. Pretty important knife if you like doing home butchery. This is a Victorian Ox one. I've had this for years. They didn't send it to me. Keeps relatively sharp. I like to use the plastic handles when I'm doing my filleting knives and my boning knives, because they're not in my hand all day, because I'm not a butcher or a fishmonger. I am doing like small bits of butchery or fishmongering, and they're just kind of more hygienic.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can scrub this really easily. If you're doing 2 hours of butchery at the start of the day at a restaurant,
Yeah.
portioning steaks or whatever. So back in my day when we used to portion our own meat, portion it we'd get subprimals in. So if you get sirloins on the bone and stuff, all right, I got to break down 6 of these before service as part of my mise en place. Take the piece out, clean them all off, get all the hemoglobin off, all the rest of it. And then you do all your butchery, clean everything up. And I'd be using something like this for taking it off the bone and taking all the silver skin off. And then I'd use something like this to portion the steak.
Okay.
This is another version of this, different shaped blade. Again, a Japanese blade, very fine. It's basically a paring knife is the way you think of that. Dicing an onion, etc., etc. Nothing crazy.
A little one.
The Victorian Ox serrated paring knife. Every kitchen must have this. This is
So sharp.
It's very sharp, and it's great for opening boxes. It's great for...
But wouldn't that blunt the knife, opening box?
Oh, that's what's serrated. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
These are cheap. They're like 10 bucks, 12 bucks. You can get different colored handles. They're just a workhorse. They're kind of a utility knife as opposed to the hot tip. They're great at cutting tomatoes.
Yeah, they are actually. I think that's what I use it for.
I don't know what.
Little
Oh, this
cheese.
is the cheese knife.
Cheese knife.
That's kind of.
Is that? It's got a little.
It's got a wasp.
What's that French? It's the French one. Le Goya.
Cute knife.
Very cute.
Just for eating cheese. This is an oyster shucker. Oh. Looks like a shank. It's actually an oyster shucker. Small blade, very hard, not particularly sharp. For getting under that hinge of that oyster, cracking it open, cutting the muscle off the top of the shell, and there you go.
Someone gave that to you, didn't they?
No, I don't know. It's a French one. Not sure anyone gave it to me. No.
Okay.
It's not cheap. You don't need an expensive oyster shucker. This is kind of an expensive one. It's also a small blade. I like this oyster shucker. A lot of people don't. A lot of people use a bigger one that has a guard on it and stuff. I prefer this one, little, it's easy and nimble. But I've opened, I don't know, fuck, excuse my French, you have to beep that out. But I've opened
Many oyster.
thousands of dozens of oysters. So.
Did you have to be on the oyster station like when you were younger?
Yeah, when you're junior you do. I did fish for a long time at Tom's Kitchen, so I was
Okay.
on the oyster section then. At Felix in Sydney, I never did the oyster. We had a big oyster bar there.
Yeah.
So,
You
but
wear like the glove?
no.
Mesh glove? No, you just
We all know how I feel about guards.
just go raw.
Yeah.
And how many fingers did you slice?
None. Not cutting oysters.
Okay.
This is an interesting knife. This is for cutting open bread. It's called a lard, I think.
Cutting open bread.
Yeah, so before you prove
bake
it, it's just a razor blade. I actually cut myself on this right here, getting ready for this video.
Oh, that's like
Yeah,
the worst
it's like-
spot. That's like a paper cut.
Yeah, ridiculous. Anyway, just a razor blade and a handle. Fun story about these. A lot of bakers don't like using these and they just use the blade. And they often keep it in their mouth. So they'll cut the bread and they'll put the blade back in their mouth because you can't lose it. Because if you lose it, you'll bake a razor blade into the bread.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's done anymore, but back in the day, it's dodgy. Okay, a couple of interesting knives. We work with Gozzy closely. These guys gave me this. In fact, they engraved it to me at one of their supper clubs that we went to last year. This is for cutting pizza, and I actually really like it. I like it way more than these. This is also a Gozzy one. This is one of these things. But I prefer cutting pizza with this.
Just a note, that is also very sharp. I did
that is very sharp.
Run my finger along it to see how sharp it was, and I cut myself.
Well, that was silly.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's too
I think I've broken it. Sorry, guys, I broke your blade.
All right, so we'll ask some knife questions before you move on to sharpening stuff.
Go for it.
So, what would, if you only have one knife, what would it be?
One of those rosewood handle, probably the newer one with the more curved edge. Chef's knife. I think that's a 30 centimeter or a 28 centimeter chef's knife.
You're gonna be able to do most things with that?
Most things, yeah. Like 95% you can do with that knife. You can fill a fish with it, you can portion steaks, cut veggies, you can do fine herbs. It'll keep an edge okay. It's not super brittle, so it won't break. But and it doesn't need to be, I do like Victorian Ox. I'm not hanging shit on them, and but it doesn't need to be Victorian Ox. It's the same thing with, where is it? That's the same, Scotsburg, that's the same, they'll do the same thing. But that style of knife, chef's knife, around that size.
So just talking about brands.
Yep.
We've spoken about Victorian Ox, Scotsburg. So someone's starting out, they just want, I guess, a more cost effective or more accessible brand, so they're easy to buy online, not too expensive. What else? Like, what would you recommend?
I think these, I don't actually know what those Scotsburg knives cost. Those two brands are great. I think Scotsburg's probably a bit cheaper, which would be good. Other than that, I'm not really too sure. I'm not really across heaps of brands. There's the Kiwi knife brand, which is in like every Asian supermarket. If you're really budget conscious, I think the Kiwi knives, they'll be single bevel knives, but they are like $10. That cheap, and they're pretty sharp. They won't last very long though.
Okay. Yeah. If someone's starting out, they're going to get a few different knives, let's say 3 to 4. What would you suggest they get for their kitchen? So chef's knife?
Chef's knife. Serrated bread knife. Serrated paring knife. And probably, it depends, if you're meat inclined, a boning knife. If you're seafood inclined, a fish knife. So you can do with either one of those. Depends. If you eat a lot of seafood, I'd go for a flexible blade. If you eat a lot of meat, I'd go for a firm blade.
Okay. And if you love oysters, go for
and if you love oysters. Or you make bread, or pizza.
What's your favorite knife?
Favorite knife? Oh, hey Siri and timer. 1 second. We're back.
Okay, favorite knife. What's your favorite knife?
Favorite knife is this knife here, this Champion knife, because my mate Sammy Sawyer gave it to me, and I like the knife.
That's a cool knife.
It's a Kiwi knife, and I'm a Kiwi.
Very nice. Why do you get mad at me when I put your knives in the dishwasher?
2 reasons. It blunts them first and foremost. So the heat is no good for the edge. It blunts them. It also bang around in there. The heat and the water is no good for the wooden handles. So always wash your knives by hand. And these carbon knives like this and this and this are raw metal. So even when you wash these by hand, I also get to know with you, Caitlin will wash it by hand like a good girlfriend, and then she'll just leave it in the rack to dry.
Yeah,
don't do that.
Yeah.
You got to dry them really well straight away. Same with like a carbon pan.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they'll rust. They're open to the elements, and you can see on this knife, which I haven't used in a long time, you can see the kind of, it's actually starting to rust. It's not a huge issue if your knife rusts a little bit. To do the odd YouTube thing. The knife rusts a little bit, then you just clean it off with the hot soapy water and a scour and come back to normal.
Hand wash, dry straight away.
Hand wash, dry straight away. Hot soapy water.
And I will show you my one knife. I have one knife in this kit. Oh, I have two. It's the same but different colors. This is a waiter's mate or a wine knife or a waiter's friend. Ooh, there we go. So this is the Pull Tap brand. Yeah, the Pull Tap. So obviously if you drink wine, you should definitely have one of these in the kitchen, even if you don't drink wine actually, because it's pretty annoying. And I actually keep this one in my car because if you visit a friend's house and they don't have a wine knife.
Are you advocating drink driving?
No, just always be prepared.
So have a wine knife and a boyfriend who doesn't drink.
Yes, so he can drive you and then your one knife's ready in your car and you're full of wine with a cork in it and you take it to your friends and they don't have one, you just whip this one out. So look, there's all different types of wine openers. The old school one where you twist it, it has like the arms. I remember just like making it dance when I was young. I can't stand those ones. These are honestly the best. I think when I was working at Kirk's Wine Bar in Melbourne 9 years ago would have been, they gave me one of these. They actually gave me this exact one. So I've had that ever since and it is my favorite one. But it's really easy. Obviously has this tiny little knife up the top. So you use that to go around the bottle to open up like the seal. And then has your lovely cork, which you twist down into the bottle. And then it has two hinges. It's really easy here. Two hinges, which you use the top one to start when it's really right down low. And then when you move it up, use the second one to pop it out. And you can also use it to open beer bottles or your wines that have a cap on it. It's a nice little hinge. Anyway, they're great. I think they're only about $15, $20. You can buy them online. I did lose this one for quite a while, so I bought a second one, but this one lives in our kitchen and this one now lives in my car. So that's my addition to the knife video. So we obviously, you do get a lot of questions about sharpening your knives, and there was one left, which is, do you use a sharpening stone, block, or a machine?
So these are stones. I use these sometimes, not very often anymore, to be perfectly honest. I use this. It's not necessary. It's called a chef choice. I brought this, and it's kind of cheating, to be perfectly honest. 3-stage tool used probably read before. Didn't even know what that does. Didn't even know what that was. Anyway, this has Asian style knives, European style knives, and a polisher. You turn it on, you put your knife in, you bring it back like that, and it sharpens it. The reason I use this is because I sharpen my knives all the time. I have this set up in my garage downstairs. I run down, I go, and then it's sharp.
And how much is one of those?
Oh, they're expensive.
They are?
You don't need to buy that.
Okay.
They're like $500 or something stupid. Yeah, I think so. But I cook all day. It's easier. So I can use these. These are sharpening stones, different grits. I can use them, but they take ages. Like you got to spend time. And
right.
But some people love it. Some people get into the motion, and I guess it's their type of relaxation or their like stress
and you
release.
Put water on it?
Yeah, water stones. Yeah, you got to have them wet. I don't find it relaxing at all. I find it annoying, so I cheat and use the machine. Okay. And then I use this, which is a Wüsthof diamond steel. These are expensive too, these diamond steels. I don't know why they're expensive. There must be a manufacturing reason why they're expensive. They're kind of grippy. They feel like a cat's tongue. But you also, these aren't actually that great either. These will take a lot off your knife. So I use this like, done, because that's actually and don't do this over your food, because it is putting, everyone's freaking out about microplastics. What about micro metals? Come on. Okay. So you do it over the floor.
Yep.
So if you're a real knife freak, you're using whetstones and you're using straight steel, which is like just a stainless steel rod with lines straight up it, which is just to kind of bevel your edge. I have that set up downstairs. Every now and then, if there's a particular knife, like one of these ones that I really like and want to spend a bit of love on, then I'll use my whetstones, but most of the time. Because I don't really use these all the time, because I just use these workhorses. I don't know why. Because I think if I bash these around, it doesn't bother me, right? I can just smash them. Whereas these I don't really want to ruin. It's like,
okay, they're your special knives.
These are my Sunday cars, and these are my daily drivers.
Yeah, all right. Yeah,
So there you go, there's my knives. From a chef who is not a knife geek.
Yeah, you still have a lot of knives.
I used to think, like when I was a young chef, I used to like, oh, you know, like I have to like be into knives, and forever I was just like, oh, I actually don't really care. I do appreciate a nice knife, but just because you're into cooking doesn't mean you have to like geek out in every single aspect of cooking.
Yeah.
It's okay not to geek out on everything.
And you keep your knife, I mean, you keep all of these just in a drawer, but you used to have a knife bag, but that was just more when you were cooking.
Yeah. I just keep them in a drawer, separate from everything else. Careful when you put them in and out.
Yeah.
I more geek out on pots and pans these days, but pot and pan geek.
There you go. All right, I hope you find that informative.
Or just confusing.
Maybe confusing. Just focus on these ones. He's
Cook's
laid
knife,
it out for you.
A serrated bread knife, serrated paring knife, a boning knife, and a filleting knife. That's all you need. And some way to sharpen them. A steel, a whetstone. Done. All in. For this type of, no, one knife. For this type of setup, I reckon if you hunted around and looked for some sales and you did like one rose hood and the rest of these hard plastic things, I reckon you can be all in for 500 Australian dollars.
Okay.
But that will last.
Not too bad.
No, well, it depends.
It's expensive.
It's expensive. That'll last you many, many, many years if you look after them.
Yeah. And would you recommend, so if someone, let's say they don't have access to Victorian Ox or they just want to try other brands, would you go to a kitchen store, online store, a knife, like, because there's knife stores, there's Chef's Hat, there's...
Yeah, I don't know, I think you just have to look at other, oh, I'm bleeding, at other, I don't know, it's tricky. I'd just go, Victorian Ox is the standard, right? So these other brands are just as good, but I don't know. Go to a knife store if you want, but you're gonna find them cheaper online.
Yeah.
So if you're not really, budget, money's not a huge issue, then yes, absolutely go to a knife store. But if you're trying to do it on a budget,
just shop around online.
Shop around online. And if you really like want a budget, go to your local Asian supermarket and pick up, they're called Kiwi brand knives. Not like that, it's called a Kiwi brand knife.
Kiwi?
Kiwi, K-I-W-I. They're massive, there's a big company. They're cheap as chips.
Okay.
And they're sharp, but they won't last very long.
Okay, there you go.
There you go.
All right, that's it.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.